Buckingham Palace announces passing of UK's longest reigning monarch, Queen Elizabeth II, at 96.
Let me assure Nigerians that the armed forces would continue to sustain their operational tempo to contain the security challenges in the country.
Have faith in the military, President Buhari tells Nigerians at inauguration of Navy Games facility. INEC clarifies stance on refusal to publish name or particular of candidate for APC Yobe North senatorial primary election.
It's not because we don't want doctors to earn better, but there is a time that you should do it.
Also tonight, Japa Friday, head of service of the Federation, urges NMA to counsel young resident doctors against abandoning Nigeria. Hello and welcome to NTA Network News. We are live in Abuja. I am Juma Yusuf. Hingino John Adams is in Lagos and joins us from Enugu. You can follow this news broadcast live on our website nta.ng/live and all our social media platforms displayed on the screen for updates. UK's longest reigning monarch, Queen Elizabeth II, is dead. She died at 96. Earlier today at Balmoral Castle in Scotland after doctors raised concerns over her health and placed her on medical supervision. Obiageli Ugwoke has a tribute on the late monarch.
Queen Elizabeth became queen following her father's death in 1952 at the age of 25 and became the queen regent of 7 independent Commonwealth countries at that time and reigned for 70 years, the longest in their history. She has worked with 15 prime ministers from Winston Churchill to Liz Truss, whom she met just 2 days ago. Nigeria got her independence in 1960 under her leadership and has had a robust diplomatic tie with her former colonial master. She was also a queen of Nigeria at independence until 1963 when the country became a republic. An occasion that the Queen sent a very touching and encouraging goodwill message. The late Queen visited Nigeria twice, first in 1956 and then in 2003 for the Commonwealth Head of Government meeting, CHOGM, held in Abuja.
The Nigerian government and people are playing in the new Partnership for Africa's Development and the international community's efforts to bring peace and stability to Liberia, Sierra Leone.
With her demise, her son, Prince Charles, becomes the king and the head of state of the 14 Commonwealth realms. He will lead the country in mourning the late monarch. Going by the British tradition, the Queen will be buried 10 days after her death. Obiageli Ugwoke, NTA News.
And to speak more on the passing of Queen Elizabeth II, I am joined by former Permanent Secretary, Ministry of Foreign Affairs, Ambassador Joe Keshi. You're welcome to Network News.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
It's a sad one, I must say, for the United Kingdom, the Commonwealth, and indeed people of good conscience around the world. I'm sure it will be a mixed bag of emotions as the news resonates around the world. How is that likely to vary from country to country? And are we likely to see some cultural shifts within the UK, to send shockwaves across Commonwealth countries?
I think the news will be, the reaction will be the same all over the world because she was a very beloved, influential, and an extraordinary monarch. I call her the Queen of Queens because people still don't realize that there are so many, there are a couple of other queens in Europe and some parts of the world, but this is the most famous of all the queens and the kings that we know in the world. And this is why around the world, particularly in Commonwealth countries, there'll be some sorts of mourning, and I can almost imagine that most leaders are rescheduling schedules in order to be at her final, resting events. But cultural shift, no, I don't think there will be any serious cultural shifts, because, the British system has been so well organized and planned. You saw what happened a few days ago in the case of change of guards at 10 Downing Street. It was almost immediate, prompt and efficient. And already Charles has been named king. And he's expected back in London tomorrow to start work almost immediately until his formal coronation.
Indeed, there's a watershed moment for people in the UK. This is a monarch that has seen 3 eras: the colonial, the Second World War, and the Brexit itself. Now, Hyde Park Corner was a cold word uttered to announce the death of King George VI, Elizabeth's father, and now London Bridge is down is the code for the passing of UK's longest reigning monarch. Indeed, the whole world. But then put in context for us the passage of authority in the English monarchy through accession and not necessarily on coronation. And secondly, do we have a hint of the likely leadership leaning and style of the 73-year-old King Charles III now?
If Charles has learned anything from the mother, it is that he's going to follow the footsteps of the mother. Here it's a woman, a leader, a queen, who has, superintended almost 16 prime ministers. And nobody can tell you that she has ever expressed or they know her political leanings. And probably this is why she remains so beloved. She's never been engaged in any political controversies. So we can expect that it will be a lesson, and I believe Charles will follow the footsteps of his mom, and ensure that he does not seriously get involved in British politics. If he does that, he'll probably end up gloriously like the mom. He should become, as the Prime Minister said, the rock and the spirit of the United Kingdom.
Yes, King Charles has been very, very patient to be king, although impatient himself. 73 years old, his mother became queen very young. Is there going to be a mix of cultures here?
No, I don't really think so. The British, again, as I said, has been properly laid out in a way that it is tradition. They are just going to follow the tradition to the letter. I mean, look at what happened just barely 3 days ago in the case of the British Prime Minister. A Prime Minister is elected, gets the Queen's permission to form a government. In fact, if the other Prime Minister does not pack out of the house very quickly, he's thrown out, because the new one gets into 10 Downing Street almost immediately. And you can see the same thing happening in case of the monarchy. In fact, British BBC reported that the new king is expected back in London tomorrow to begin work and to attend to some of the things that the mother couldn't, attend to. Cultural shift, I don't really think so. I think that the British would watch. And I was smiling when you mentioned this, because a couple of years ago, there were those who thought or believed that Charles would never be king. Yeah. And I actually knew 1 or 2 of those people. And I called them this evening and said, finally, Charles will be king.
Well, she made the changes before she died. During her last birthday, he will be king, and Camilla will be Queen Consort. Okay, would you likely say, that there are collateral damages from Queen Elizabeth's glorious reign?
No, I don't think so. Look, throughout her reign, she presided over rather a very peaceful, nation. I think where she had some challenges was within the family. And she managed it extraordinarily, And whatever pains she went through, she never allowed the public to know. She internalized everything that happened and kept the most important thing to her was the service to the people. And this is what the people saw. And this is why today in Britain, everybody is sad and mourning, and of course also in the Commonwealth. And I think we all around the world and in the Commonwealth, our thoughts and prayers remain with the British people today and the new king who we assume of is tomorrow.
Indeed, the whole world mourns as she's the only monarch most people like me have ever known on the British throne, actually, and she'll be surely missed. But
you're lucky now you're going to have another one.
Exactly. Do stick around. I'm going to come back to you after this report. Charles will be known as King Charles III as he ascends to the throne following the death of his mother. In a statement, Buckingham Palace confirmed Her Majesty Elizabeth II, the longest-serving monarch in British history, had passed away immediately, making her son Charles king. The king said, "The death of my mother, beloved mother, Her Majesty the Queen, is a moment of greatest sadness for me and all members of my family." Charles is now King of England and wife Camilla, Queen Consort. But back in 2005, the king did consider changing his name to George when he ascended the throne. He pondered ditching the title Charles III because of associations with some of the bloodiest periods in the monarchy's history. The Times said, at the time, the association fall around Charles I, who was executed for treason in 1649 by the parliamentarian during the English Civil War. He is the only member of the monarchy to be executed. A number of kings throughout England's history have adopted one of their middle names when they come to the throne. In fact, 4 of the past 7 monarchs have adopted different titles, including the Queen's father, George VI, who was christened Prince Albert. The UK was immediately plunged into a state of mourning following the Queen's death, with plans for a funeral and a National Day of Remembrance to be announced in the coming days. It comes as the Union flag is being flown at half-mast at Buckingham Palace. Well, back here in the studio, world leaders have begun to pay tributes to Queen Elizabeth, who until her death was the world's longest reigning monarch and the nation's figurehead for 7 decades, who died at 96. Here are some of the reactions by world leaders put together by Charles Alpha.
Prince Charles has paid a moving tribute to his mother, the Queen, after the death of Britain's longest-serving monarch at the Balmoral. As he begins his reign as king, Prince Charles said in a statement, "The death of my beloved mother, Her Majesty the Queen, is a moment of the greatest sadness for me and all members of my family." Antonio Guterres said, as the United Kingdom's longest-lived and longest-reigning head of state, Queen Elizabeth II was widely admired for her grace, dignity, and dedication around the world. He said she was a reassuring presence throughout decades of sweeping change, including the decolonization of Africa and Asia. For the Italian Prime Minister Mario Draghi, Queen Elizabeth was a major player in world history over the last 70 years as she represented the United Kingdom and the Commonwealth with balance, wisdom, respect for institutions and democracy. Emmanuel Macron, the president of France, is the latest world leader to offer his condolences. She was a kind-hearted queen, loved all over the globe. He said, Her Majesty Queen Elizabeth II embodied the British nation's continuity and unity for over 70 years. Former Prime Minister Boris Johnson also spoke following the Queen's death, saying, "This is our country's saddest day in the hearts of every one of us. There is an ache at the passing of our Queen, a deep and personal sense of loss, far more intense, perhaps, than we expected." Prime Minister Liz Truss, in her address to the nation, said the country would now support the King following the death of the Queen. She said at Downing Street, "Today the crown passes, as it has done for more than 1,000 years, to our new monarch, our new head of state, His Majesty King Charles III. It's an extraordinary achievement to have presided over such dignity and grace for 70 years. Her life of service stretched beyond most of our living memories." Ukrainian President Zelensky has extended his condolences to Great Britain following the death of Queen Elizabeth. For him, it is with deep sadness that we learn of the death of Her Majesty Queen Elizabeth II. On behalf of the Ukrainian people, we extend sincere condolences to the entire United Kingdom and the Commonwealth over this irreparable loss. Charles Alpha, NTA News.
Well, Ambassador Keshi, you're still here with me in the studio. You know, reactions began to pour in the moment the official announcement was aired and, you know, by the Buckingham Palace from world leaders. Indeed, even Biden had to put a stop to an official assignment he had to cover. What do we expect from this new government? New Prime Minister, new King King Charles III.
Well, look, as I said before, the British have a tradition that they strictly follow. The new king will begin work just like the new prime minister had started work immediately, just hours after her election by the Conservative Party. And this morning, incidentally, she was in Parliament, you know, announcing some of the bold measures that she wants to introduce, you know, to restore the British economy, which is under, you know, pressure. So you can expect that nothing much will change. There will be no dramatic change either with the coming of the king.
In 30 seconds, what about foreign policy?
Practically nothing will change because, you know, the Queen has, while she's the president or the head of the country, she has whatever she has to say in terms of foreign policy. You know, by the way, she's probably one of the most extensively traveled monarch in the world, you know. So there will be no dramatic or drastic change in terms of the British foreign policy. It will still be same old that we are used to.
Ambassador Joe Keshi, former Permanent Secretary, Ministry of Foreign Affairs, thank you so much for coming on Network News. It's been a pleasure.
Thank you very much. Thanks for having me.
Now let's bring you up to speed with other news making the rounds. President Muhammadu Buhari is urging Nigerians to have faith in the ability and capability of the nation's armed forces to effectively safeguard the country's promise to do whatever it takes to sustain the ongoing operational tempo in the fight against insecurity. This was while inaugurating the newly constructed ultra-modern sports complex of the Nigerian Navy at Ojo in Lagos State. That will be after the break. Thanks for joining us. Let's bring you the report on President Muhammadu Buhari commissioning the ultra-modern Navy sports complex in Lagos State. And Sambo tells us more.
Conceived by the immediate past Chief of the Naval Staff, the Nigerian Navy Sports Complex is equipped with state-of-the-art indoor sporting equipment, world-class gymnasium, swimming pool, a standard football pitch, as well as tracks for athletics events. The goal is to encourage personnel to continue to strive towards sustaining their physical fitness, mental alertness, combat readiness, and indeed team spirit in the task of securing the nation's maritime domain. And to put the sporting facilities to effective utilization, President Muhammadu Buhari flagged off the 2022 Nigerian Navy Games, which he said will go a long way towards strengthening the ties between troops, instilling discipline, and ensuring readiness to serve a common cause.
The Games should therefore provide a glimpse of what Nigerians expect from the Nigerian Navy: dedication, commitment, unity, oneness, and comradeship. Let me assure you that the federal government will continue to encourage sporting activities in view of its importance towards national cohesiveness and unity.
The president used the opportunity to emphasize the significance of synergy between the armed forces, other security agencies, and the general public in bringing about lasting peace and stability in the country.
Let me assure Nigerians that the armed forces would continue to sustain their operational tempo to contain the security challenges in the country. I want Nigerians to believe in the capability of the armed forces to provide the needed strategies in place to safeguard our collective interest.
In a goodwill message, Governor Babajide Sanwo-Olu described the Nigerian Navy as a strategic partner to the coastal state of Lagos on security of lives and property.
We will never take this partnership and support for granted. We will continue to look for ways to deepen our relationship for the peace, security, and progress of our people.
The Chief of the Naval Staff, Vice Admiral Awal Gambo, who appreciated President Muhammadu Buhari for his unquantifiable support and assistance to the Navy, takes pride in the fact that Nigeria not only exited from the International Maritime Bureau's piracy list, but also recorded no incidents of piracy in the last 1 year.
This attests to the Nigerian Navy's willingness and resilience to ensure a safe and secure maritime environment for socio-economic activities to thrive in Nigeria and beyond. Mr. President, may I therefore use this opportunity to express commitment and resolve to sustain the fight against crude oil theft and other maritime crimes for the well-being of Nigerians and economic prosperity of our great country.
About 1,800 athletes from the 6 commands of the Nigerian Navy are participating at the sporting fiesta being hosted for the 3rd time in Lagos since the games started in 1974. From Lagos, Adamu Sambo, NTA News.
To electoral matters now, INEC has again reiterated its stance on the APC Yobe North senatorial primary election, saying the commission stands by the report filed by its monitoring team. INEC National Commissioner for Information Festus Okoye, in a statement, notes that the reaction becomes necessary following a counter-affidavit purportedly filed in the Federal High Court, the Damaturu Judicial Division, relating to the APC Yobe North senatorial primary election. The statement adds that the matter is in the court and without prejudice to the consideration or likely outcome of the case, the Commission did not publish the name and personal particulars of any candidate for the Yobe North senatorial district. Now, the Chairman Board of Trustees of the People's Democratic Party, PDP, Senator Walid Jibrin, has resigned, a move he says will ensure the PDP candidate former Vice President Atiku Abubakar wins the 2023 election. Correspondent Timothy Yusuf reports that Senator Walid stepped down during the PDP board meeting in Abuja. Meanwhile, the 97th National Executive Committee meeting of the People's Democratic Party has passed a vote of confidence on the Iocha Ayu-led National Working Committee. Correspondent Timothy Yusuf reports that NEC has also announced the emergence of former President of the Senate, Adolphus Wabara, as acting chairman of the party's Board of Trustees.
It was a busy day at the national headquarters of the PDP. First, the meeting of the party's Board of Trustees, which later dovetailed into a National Executive Committee's meeting.
Those in favor of the motion of a vote of confidence on the Iocha Ayu-led National Working Committee, say aye.
PDP National Chairman announced the resignation of Senator Walid Gibral as Chairman Board of Trustees, with Senator Adolphus Wabara acting in the capacity. The party remains united as against all perceived negative commentaries in some quarters, says Ayu.
This party is famous for settling all disagreements.
Of course, there are some discomforting family issues in our party as of today. They are usual in a big family.
PDP presidential candidate Atiku Abubakar agreed no less with the party's position, as disagreements are normal within any political family.
We are determined to resolve those internal disagreements. No matter what the anger is, let us debrief ourselves in-house rather than playing to the gallery.
NEC also approved a unified campaign structure, but yet to constitute a National Campaign Council. Timothy Yusuf, NTA News.
National Chairman of the All Progressives Congress, Abdullahi Adamu, says the party is working assiduously to end up in the presidential villa and not in the tribunal. He stated this when he played host to Senator Oluremi Tinubu, wife of the APC presidential candidate Bola Ahmed Tinubu, and her entourage at the party's National Secretariat in Abuja. Saliu Guanara tells us more.
Senator Oluremi Tinubu and Nana Kashim Shettima have visited Buhari House, National Secretariat of APC, less than 48 hours after a similar visit by their spouses, the party's presidential candidate Bola Ahmed Tinubu and his vice Kashim Shettima. Words from APC National Chairman to the women touched on the need for stakeholders, especially the women, to collectively work and explore their numerical strength towards success.
Some of the best brains are amongst you, women. President Buhari will not be on the ticket in 2023, but his spirit and his driving leadership and progressiveness in all that he does is far. Will continue to add value to whatever we're doing.
Like other stakeholders, Senator Oluremi Tinubu and her team are primed to play an active role through a roadmap that will add value to the party's pre-election processes.
Before the timetable comes out, it's best for me to come here and also tell you that we've been busy quietly, but we want to intimate to you on the activities. We're yet to get our organogram fine-tuned.
Also in the entourage are representatives of the First Lady, Aisha Buhari, and other senior members of APC Women's Wing. In Abuja, Saliu Gwanara, NTA News.
Lagos is next with the set of reports coming from that zone. Hello, Hingiro. It's good to see you.
Jumwe, good to see you too. The Nigerian Army is scaling up its pharmaceutical production capacity to meet world-class standard and mitigate the problem of substandard drugs. The Chief of Army Staff, Lieutenant General Farouk Yahaya, said this at the groundbreaking ceremony for the joint establishment of a pharmaceutical manufacturing plant in Ekpe. Lynn Leneke reports.
Providing adequate health care for officers and men of the Nigerian Army is a topmost priority, considering the recent high-level engagement of various theatres of operations in the country. This joint establishment of pharmaceutical drug manufacturing plant in Ekpe by the Army's leadership is therefore to improve the current status of the Nigerian Army drugs production facility with a view to addressing the chronic problems of shortage as well as the issue of fake and adulterated drugs which personnel and their families face in hospitals.
The partnership will also address the dependence on imports, which will in turn boost the internally generated revenue of the Nigerian Army through public state sales and exports to nearby countries. This partnership is premised on the huge market and demand already established in the open market and even to some extent governments across the country.
Meanwhile, the Chief of Army Staff's intervention in infrastructural development to Nigerian Army schools has extended to the Nigerian Army School of Ordnance, where a newly built and fully furnished 20-bedroom students' officers' hostels, 40 soldiers' dormitories for students of the Nigerian Army Ordnance School Ekpe, and the regimented Sergeant Major's official residence were inaugurated. Lieutenant General Farouk Yahaya reinstated the Army's resolve to complement government's efforts towards the provision of adequate welfare services for Nigerian Army and larger Nigerian society. In Lagos, Lynn Lenake, NTA News.
The interception of 20 drums of carbide by the Federal Operations Unit Zone A of the Nigeria Customs Service is raising questions about the motive behind the importation, which the Customs says could be connected to crimes. But for the avoidance of doubt, the unit is however calling on the importer to come forward with the end-user certificate approved from the Office of the National Security Advisor. Michael Alale reports that apart from this, 10 suspects were arrested in connection with different import infractions.
The intensity of the rain seems to pose a challenge for smuggling activities, as the once flourishing routes, the waterways, is now impeding their illegal trade. A good instance is these bags of rice intercepted at one of the creeks within the area of responsibility of the Federal Operations Unit Zone A of the Nigeria Customs Service. This 2020 edition of SUV, intercepted while being ferried through the waterways, is another instance, and together with 19 others, the customs said contravened extant law on land importation of vehicles.
Now that it was found and intercepted inside the bush, there's no way it can pay duty. As a matter of fact, I'm waiting for anybody who will come to claim this vehicle, and I will just handcuff him and we'll go to court on it.
The lesson going forward, the unit says, unraveling concealment, like the one surrounding the importation of these 20 drums of carbide, has been made easy. The worries, however, according to the customs, revolve around national security and public health, which this type of consignment could generate.
This one is a critical substance that is used in making IED.
Similar to this is the interception of 42 pieces of military camouflage bags and 242 parcels of cannabis sativa, a development which the Federal Operations Unit Zone A believes could fuel insecurity. The total duty paid value of seizures within the month of August is close to 580 million naira, while 46 million naira was recovered from underpayment and undervaluation of imported items. In Lagos, Michael Olaleye, NTA News.
Do not forget to follow this news broadcast live on our website at nta.ng/live and on our other social media handles displayed on your screen for updates. Network news continues after this timeout.
Now let's talk business. Nigeria's merchandise trade fell to 12.8 trillion naira in the second quarter of 2022. This was lower than the 13 trillion naira recorded in the first quarter of 2022, but was higher than the value recorded in the corresponding period of 2021, which stood at 9.7 trillion naira. National Bureau of Statistics report on foreign trade for second quarter of 2022 said total exports were 7.4 trillion naira, of which re-exports stood at 9.63 billion naira, while total imports stood at 5.4 trillion naira. In the quarter under review, total exports increased by 4.31% when compared to the first quarter of 2022 and by 47.5% of the value recorded in the second quarter of 2021. Total imports decreased by 7.89% in the second quarter of 2022 when compared to the value recorded in the first quarter of 2022 and grew by 15.83% when compared to the value recorded in the corresponding quarter of 2021. The top 5 export destinations in the second quarter of 2022 were India with a share of 14.85%, followed by Spain with 13.98%, the Netherlands with 12.35%, and the United States of America as well as Indonesia with 8.93% and 8.45%. Now to capital market, investors gained 28.3 billion naira to close the equities market on a positive note. The all-share index appreciated by 0.11% at 49,652.25 basis points. 161.8 million shares worth 1.6 billion naira were traded in 3,541 deals. Market capitalization climbed to 26.7 trillion naira. Transco Fidelity Bank and Sterling Bank were the most traded stocks at the end of the day's transaction. That's business. It's back to you, Jumai.
Thank you so much, Abuja. Now the news continues. The federal government wants the Nigerian Medical Association, NMA, to counsel young resident doctors on the need to give back to the society and desist from traveling abroad for greener pastures. The head of civil service of the Federation, Dr. Falashade Yemi Esan, made the call when the leadership of NMA visited her in Abuja. Hamman Jabani reports.
Head of the Civil Service of the Federation, Falashade Yemi Esan, expressed concern over the rate at which resident doctors travel abroad for practice and urged the association to always complement the effort of government in effective healthcare delivery in the country, as the present administration will continue to provide an enabling environment for them to excel in their profession. Head of the civil service enjoined the doctors to be considerate in their demands, having in mind the dwindling government revenue.
Use us to gauge the need. And when we give you advice, Please. It's not because we don't want doctors to earn plenty, but there is a time that you should do it.
President of the Nigerian Medical Association, Dr. Uche Roland Ojima, commended the head of civil service of the Federation for her reformative contributions in repositioning the federal civil service for greater performance and national economic growth. Hamman Jabani, NTA News.
Managing Director of the Northeast Development Commission, Muhammadu Alkali, is giving the Commission a pass mark for its interventions in alleviating the plight of victims of insurgency displaced from their settlement as a result of the activities of Boko Haram for the past decade. He gave the commendation while updating State House media crew on the Commission's core mandate and the way forward during the weekly briefing organized by the Presidential Communication Team. State House correspondent Aliu Kabir reports.
The Northeast Development Commission was established in 2017, responsible for the resettlement, rehabilitation, reintegration and reconstruction of the area ravaged by the insurgency, as well as supporting victims and tackling the menace of poverty, illiteracy, ecological problems and other related issues in the area. The managing director of the NEDC, Muhammadu Alkali, said the Commission has embarked in a holistic approach towards addressing the devastating effect of the insurgency. For instance, the Commission has so far executed 647 projects in agriculture, environment, education, health and energy across the 122 local government areas in the 6 states of the Northeast. The Commission, according to the MD, has built 1,000 housing units of 4 bedrooms in Borno State, which was already handed over to the state government for onward distribution to the victims, adding that 500 housing units are under construction in each of the states in the region.
We also now started moving forward to do other infrastructure development, especially in the roads. For instance, we have done in Taraba, we have done the Mayondaga Bridge. It's a very small bridge, but very critical for the farmers there, which we have completed.
With over 2 million people affected by the insurgency in the area, the Commission, he said, has unveiled a 10-year master plan covering the period between 2020 and 2030, determined for various interventions in education, health, security, as well as human and capital development across the 6 states in the Northeast.
We have the renewal phase starting from 2022-2023. That's now we have reached a baseline. How now are we going to improve with the stability we achieved? Thank God, now we have relative peace in the Northeast. So the objective of achieving this second phase is a reality. Then we have the expansion phase, 2024 to 2025. And then the sustainable growth phase from 2020 to 2030.
Already, he added that over 300 victims were trained on peace and conflict resolutions initiative, in addition to various train-the-trainer programs, all in an effort towards addressing the challenge. Alkali added that NEDC has also supported Nigerian security agencies in the area with operational vehicles as well as health facilities, including ambulances and other medical aids, especially during the COVID-19 pandemic. From the State House, Aliu Kabir, NTA News.
The Nigeria Extractive Industry Transparency Initiative, NTA, says Nigeria spent 13.7 trillion naira in subsidy payments from 2005 to 2020. Executive Secretary of NTA, Obonaya Oji, made this submission at an appearance before the House of Representatives Ad Hoc Committee investigating Nigeria's subsidy regime. National Assembly correspondent Lami Ali reports.
It's a huge burden currently on government's ability to respond to basic needs of citizens. And the pain that we have is that we do not think that those the subsidies supposed to actually protect are benefiting maximally from the process.
Subsidy payment, he says, is suffocating Nigeria's economy, and that is why NTA has since 2006 been advising the federal government to exit the regime. Parliament feels the process is compromised and is therefore on a mission to obtain information of actual amounts paid as subsidy, lapses in the procedure and those responsible.
The appraisals today, yes, has shed light on so many things. Nigerians have known that there has been a change in remittance, at least. just 2 years has exposed 270 billion.
The committee in particular wants NTA to find out why, through successive administrations in this country, payments and subsidy record an increase the year before and during an election year.
Maybe you can help us to further expose this. It was high. What's the price of crude oil in the market? Anybody can Google it.
In another development, the House of Representatives Committee on Finance has decried the failure of some MDAs to appear for the MTEF public hearing.
The committee and by implication National Assembly will not tolerate any agency of government shying away from appearing to take responsibility on their mandate.
The exercise has been extended by 1 week. From the National Assembly, Lami Ali, NTA News.
Governor of Oyo State, Seyi Makinde, has lauded the construction of the new campus of River State University in Ahioda as a catalyst for change and development in the local government area. This was at the inauguration of the institution's campus in Ahioda that will host the Faculty of Humanities. Ogedi Unyekere reports.
The Oyo State Governor, Seyi Makinde, commended Governor Wike for not focusing only on developing the city, but also extending infrastructural development to the hinterlands.
Take good advantage of this project and turn the economy of this place around. It's not only developing Port Harcourt. Communities are coming together and the economy of River State is moving beyond just oil.
The concept of decentralizing River State University into a multi-campus institution is another milestone achieved by the River State government in the education sector. The just inaugurated Ahioda campus of the university will host the Faculty of Humanities. A part of the university being sited in Ahioda will not only change the educational fortunes of the local government area and its environs, but will act as a catalyst in its socio-economic landscape. Governor Wike is pleased that the vision to decentralize River State University is achieved, as this will help the remaining faculties in the main campus to leverage on the available facilities.
We must bring discipline to our area. People must understand you cannot go to government property and behave anyhow you like, thinking tomorrow government will come and pay you money for illegality. And that is the problem we have in this country today. And I will not be a part of that.
The Oyo State Governor also laid the foundation stone for staff quarters in the campus. In Ahioda, Ogedi Unyekere, NTA News.
We'll take another break. We'll be right back. Do stay. The last 4 months of the year is usually referred to as Ember Month. This is perhaps not unconnected with the busy nature of Nigerian roads, especially with the Yuletide season in sight. Now, to prevent avoidable cases of auto crash, the federal Road Safety Corps is taking its campaign to the Gwagwalada Heavy Duty Park. Abubakar Akwanga reports.
The Gwagwalada Area Council has been in the news for a while now, but not for the good reason. I know you may be itching to know what it is. This is the reason. Now, to clear these heavy duty trucks interfering with free flow of vehicular traffic, the Federal Road Safety Corps is facilitating relocation of the old park to a new site. The park, which stretches 53 hectares of land, is expected to return sanity to the major highway and protect failing portions of the road from further damage.
We intend to deploy a special patrol team who will be there to assist them to park properly. So we should not create another old Tapa, all my Rabanjos, or all Ogeri here.
I promise, and I go by my promise, that in the next 2 weeks, if the place is cleared, all the vehicles will be clear from the road to the site.
FRSC intends to take the campaign beyond motor parks to government establishments, worship centers, and other public places. Going forward, the FRSC also received leadership of NUPENG and PDD to strengthen collaboration in areas of common interest and enhance partnership that will lead to zero fatality. In Abuja, Abubakar Akwanga, NTA News.
The growing concern over national unity in Nigeria at this critical time is gaining momentum in view of development challenges on the economy and social life. Minister of State for Foreign Affairs Zubairu Dada, who received some leaders of Nigerian Institute of Public Relations, says there's more to be done in making Nigeria stand out in togetherness, despite its complex nature.
Ambassador Zubairu Dada is among the 79 fellows inducted recently by the Nigerian Institute of Public Relations. That was an honor for being longest-serving member of the institute for 34 years and now the highest-ranking member in public service in the fellowship. These successes, as explained by the Niger State chapter of the Nigerian Institute of Public Relations, are worthy of reckoning.
See him as a hero, as our mentor, somebody we look up to.
The Nation Building Crusade is a project which the minister explained must not be preoccupied at any forum to keep Nigeria tight on prosperity.
It's a contribution that is not easily quantifiable, especially considering the climate of the country today. We need all hands on deck. We need everybody to pool resources so that we can lift this country up.
Usman Aliyu, NTA News.
Now, President Muhammadu Buhari has extolled the tenacity and grit of the chairman of the National Drug Law Enforcement Agency, NDLEA, Brigadier General Muhammadu Marwa, retired as he attains 69 years today. In a statement by Special Advisor on Media and Publicity, Femi Adesina, President Buhari affirms the dynamic leadership role that the chairman of NDLEA has played in shaping the history of the country as governor and military administrator, investing in people and infrastructure, as well as his recent reforms in the NDLEA to rid the country of drug traffickers. He prays Almighty God to grant the NDLEA chairman more courage, strength and wisdom as he serves the country. And that's Network News for tonight. Thank you so much for watching. I am Jummai Yusuf.